Ukraine says Russia stole several 100,000 tons of grain.
Here's a summary of the article.
A driver unloads a truck at a grain store during barley harvesting in the village of Juftnev, Ukraine, July 14, 2016. Register now for free unlimited access to Reuters. KYIV, April 30. Russian forces have stolen several 100,000 tons of grain in the areas of Ukraine they occupy, Ukraine's deputy agriculture minister said on Saturday. Speaking to Ukrainian national TV, Taras Vysotsky expressed concern that most of what he said was 1.5 million tons of grain stored in occupied territory could also be stolen by Russian forces. Ukraine's foreign ministry accused Russia on Thursday of stealing grain in territory it has occupied, an act it said increased the threat to global food security. The Agriculture Ministry said on Friday that 6 regions in Ukraine had completed their early spring grain sowing despite the Russian invasion. Ukraine is divided into 24 regions, but there are no plans to sow grain in Luhansk in the east due to heavy fighting there. The ministry gave no 2022 grain harvest forecast, while analysts see output at 41.4 million tons this year compared with 86 million tons in 2021. The consultancy APK Inform said 2022-23 grain exports could total 33.2 million tons versus 45.5 million expected for the 2021-22 season that ends in June. Register now for free unlimited access to Reuters.com.
This post received a score of 10,000, with an upvote ratio of 96%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
If it's not bolted down, the Russians will steal it. If it is bolted down, they'll booby-trap it.
Except with toilets. If it's bolted, they'll still steal it. I'm imaging some entering a destroyed house, and walking out with the remnants of a toilet.
An extremely good book called Bloodlands by Yale professor Timothy Snyder describes the countries between Russia and Germany, namely, Poland and Ukraine, as incredibly fertile for farming. The whole Lebensraum thing, as well as Soviet expansion, was partly a resource war to take that food for themselves.
In American English, a ton is a unit of measurement equaling 2,000 pounds. In non-U.S. measurements, a ton equals 2,240 pounds. A ton, also known as a metric ton, is a unit of mass equaling 1,000 kilograms.
Also known as a fuck ton,
or a metric shit ton.
Or, by ISO standards, a fecal megagram, mg.
Not to be confused with the megapint, an as yet unrecognized unit of volume equal to 1 pint.
Kind of makes me wonder if what we're seeing is actually normal war in general, and the only reason it looks so horrific is that in the modern era, every detail is being reported real-time to the world instead of staying within the military command structures of each side.
My grandfather was in the US Ace during World War II and spent a lot of his time disarming booby traps and mines that the retreating Germans had left behind them. The stories about those that are coming out now sound very familiar, except that he never mentioned bodies being mined. More things like wells and stoves, everyday stuff advancing armies or even civilians might try to use. Of course, I was also 10 when he was telling me these stories, so I'm sure there was stuff he left out.
Greater than Americans who were able to take weekend trips to Switzerland would buy armloads of cheap watches and resell them to the Russians for their weight in occupation marks. Oh wow.
Oh, the past repeating itself. Yet more things to add to the Russian reparations bill when Ukraine kicks their ass.
Not surprised. After the troops realized that the military rations given by the Kremlin were expired, they started looting shops and houses around Ukraine? Murderers and thieves too. Way to go, Russian monsters.
This is something else. This requires intention and logistics.
It wouldn't be the first time the Russians stole grain from Ukrainians. The Holodomor was a manufactured famine that happened under the explicit directions of Stalin during the early 1930s after it was falsely claimed that Ukrainians were hoarding grain crops. From 1932 to 1933, millions of Ukrainians starved to death. It was so severe that people resorted to cannibalism.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.